treasured player you were in your time here in Portland? How many people really appreciated you?
I'm surprised today in this pioneer where so many people come in and it's a long time. It's 9 years past, and I'm very appreciate for coming, for remembering me, and thank you for who been in my basketball life, very important people.
A lot of people have asked you this question. Can you narrow it down to one or two special memories of your time as a Blazer player?
Many memories, but when you don't speak good English, it's difficult to explain these memories. You always remember some short memories, some short something, But of course, it's first what I always remember is in 1988, when Blazers invited me to be rehabilitated, after this serious injury and this 3 months where my doctor lived here, and working hard. And after this rehabilitation, I come back in that time to Soviet Union, and we go to Olympic Games, and I win gold medal. It's very important for my basketball life. After in 1995, when I come, I've been 30 years old, But what I say is always, I say thank you for believing me. Long time passed from this 1986 when I drafted, and this club believed in me, and I've been here 7 years, So again, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
A lot of Blazer fans over the years, and even Blazer players that were your teammates or could have been your teammates, they always ask the question, what if? What if Sabonis had been able to come over when he was drafted? Have you allowed yourself to think about what that would have been like if you would have been able to come to Portland immediately?
About this, I think just when I come into USA, always asking this question, if you come, if you know, I don't know. But I don't know, what happened if I come earlier, but I am happy what happened with me, Rio. That's it, I don't know.
You look very healthy. I mean, I know that playing every night was a grind on your body, but I understand you play a little bit. You still play a little bit back home.
Yeah, we're 2 times a week with friends. We're playing in one basket, no run, just shooting. No defense. I am playing guard.
All right, we're going to get back to a little more from Sabonis in a minute, but we want to talk to some folks that have some good stories about him as well. And we'll start out with Mr. Glickman, because Harry, the effort to bring Arvydas to Portland was a long-standing effort, and not your typical drafting a player and then figuring out what uniform he was going to wear. What do you remember most about the recruitment of Arvydas at a time when players really didn't come over from Europe to play in the U.S.?
Well, the problem was, we knew it was a risk when we drafted him, but Bucky, as we neared the 24th pick in that '86 draft, Bucky here said, we have a chance to draft the best player in the world. And our owner, Larry Weinberg, said, let's go for it. And even with the risk, we went for it. And even though some of the columnists claimed he would never play in Portland, eventually he did. I went to the Soviet Union to try to sign him. I'll make a long story as short as possible. Finally found someone to negotiate with. He was the Deputy Minister of Sport and Culture. Started the meetings, he spoke very good English, and he said, my father was a contractor, and he always said Portland cement was the best. So it's a pleasure to welcome somebody from Portland. I figured, well, we're off on the right track. I thought we had a deal made, came back, translated the contract from English into Russian by a professor at Lewis and Clark College. That cost us $5,000. Mailed the contract over there, and never heard from him again. But I'm glad he eventually got there.
Now, picking him was one thing, but what was it like in your initial visits with Arvidas in terms of, did you receive an immediate indication from him that he really wanted to come to Portland?
Well, at the time, he needed an operation, and there was a doctor in Atlanta who was supposed to be the best around, so we brought Sabas and his doctor over to Atlanta, and they performed the surgery there. And then there was a shoe store in Atlanta called Friedman's, which carried a lot of big men's shoes. Athletes from every sport always visit Friedman's when they're in Atlanta. And we took Sabas over there and he bought 6 pairs of shoes. I think there were more shoes in that store than there are in Moscow. And he came to Portland and did his rehabilitation here under the supervision of our then key doctor, Bob Cook. And I remember he worked out, he was living in an apartment on Harrison Street, one which Joanne and I later occupied for a few months. But he worked out at the Willamette Athletic Club. And I went over there and he was popping in 3-point shots from all over the place. And I said, oh wow. But he was right, he could play.
Bucky, I know in a draft room, there's often a lot of spirited discussion about a selection, especially a first round selection. As Harry said, there was a lot involved, not only in making the selection, but not necessarily knowing for sure that you were going to get Arvidas over to Portland. How much courage did it take in that draft room to make the decision? You knew what kind of player he was, but all the other ancillary things that were involved in getting him here, how did you factor that all in eventually selecting him?
Is this on? Those years, we were drafting in the middle rounds, and Portland wasn't bad enough to get the top pick, and we weren't good enough as we wanted to be. So we decided that we had to do something innovative. And traveling around the world and watching some of the other players in the other countries develop, I finally figured out that there were some very good players that might be competitive in the NBA. When Arvidas came over in the early 80s, you saw him play against some of the top Division I teams, and he did very, very well. So we felt that there was a good chance to get the best player in the world, and we knew it was going to be difficult to get him out, but because the caliber and because he was such a good upside, we decided to take that gamble, so we did.
As Emby mentioned earlier, and you and I were talking coming back from the square today about one of the examples of just what it took to recruit him. You were telling me a story about Madrid, Spain, and I don't know if you were a fan of James Bond movies, but it sounds like you needed a little expertise in espionage to try to, just work your way around the system, just to be able to talk to him.
We drafted him in June. We went to Madrid, Spain. He was playing in the European Cup tournament, and it was a terrific venue, and Arvidas played very, very well. We wanted to get to talk to him, but during that time, the security by the police in Russia was very, very tight. What the players would do, they would go to a game, play the game, go back to the rooms, and be locked in, and essentially that was their lives. So it took a little bit of thought of trying to figure out how to get to him. We found a guy who spoke a little Lithuanian, a little English from Argentina. He arranged to get a hold of Arvidas and meet us at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? So we all are sneaking down the hall into this vacant room at 3 o'clock in the morning. We stood in there for about an hour talking to one another. Through the interpreter, Arvidas said, yes, I do want to play in the NBA. I want to play with the best players and against the best players in the world. And we said, well, we would love to have you, and we will do it the right way. He said, I don't want to defect. I want to go when the Federation says it's okay. So as Harry's indicated, we spent a lot of time, and we tried very hard to get him here. I asked Arvidas at the time, I said, is the security really that tough? Yes. So it was very hard to really pursue it, and it took us a lot longer than we would like. By the way, in that same draft, we drafted Drazen Petrovic, who came over and played some, and wouldn't it have been nice to have both Sabas and Drazen at the same time?
Were you impressed by how much effort these people from Portland were putting into trying to get you to the NBA?
They drafted, the Blazers drafted me, they need to do something, no? In that time.
did something on that. They did something. Max, I'll continue with you. What were your first impressions when Sabonis got over after all this buildup? At that point in time, it was not as common to be able to see players in Europe and see what they could do as it is today. But obviously, his legend was big before he even got here. But what did you think when you finally were able to see him in the NBA, see him in Portland?
Well, when he first came here, I watched him on film a little bit, and then you see him in person, and you realize how big he is. Besides how skilled and talented he was. But I remember, PJ, I was sitting watching film with Dick Harder before Sabonis came over, and Dick's going, I don't think he's going to be able to, play in the NBA. I said, well, European basketball is a lot different. I think Sabonis will make the adjustment. But he came over here, and I was put in charge of really kind of helping him and his family get settled, being the point person, and it was a great honor to do that. And as great a basketball player as Sabonis was as a player, his family and as a person, he's a great person too. And that was really enjoyable to be a part of that.
Guys coming over from Europe, as I say, it's commonplace today, but what did you think would be the toughest thing about his adjustment to being over here in America, maybe not just on the basketball side?
Well, I think that since he had already played in different areas in Europe, I think that adjustment, there's always an adjustment, you move the family. I think he told me once he was very proud that a few of his kids were born here in America, and having that to be a part of it. But I think they made that adjustment. As a player, I think the biggest thing is really that, and for guys even coming out of college now, it's the speed of the NBA game. And Sabonis' gifts with his size, his length, his hands, and his skill level, he was able to figure it out very quickly how to be a factor and really be an impact player right away.
Max, I'll ask you to pass the mic to PJ. Because, like all intelligent coaches, I know that you've often said that you look better if you have great players. What was it like to be able to have this guy take the court for you early in his NBA career?
Well, Wills, let me digress for a quick second. Sabonis is too much of a gentleman, and he's too humble to answer the question that he said has been asked of him thousands of times since he came to the States. I'll give you an opinion, having coached for a long time, both internationally and in the NBA. There would be more than one banner hanging in the Rose Garden, and Mike Schuler or myself, with all due respect to Nate, would still be coaching here because I was thinking all the back then. He's being humble. Seriously, I don't know if people who did not see him play earlier in his career just appreciate how great a player this man was all throughout his career, particularly when he was in Portland, but especially when he was younger and he was healthier than he got here. Secondly, he talks about his English. He knew, had he known how many autographs and how many people he had to shake hands with, he wouldn't be here. So he told the truth about that. But Chris Dudley told a story today at Pioneer Square. After every game, the reporters would just line up because Sabonis would have 17 points and 11 assists, and he would have done a couple of amazing things during the game, and they'd just line up and talk to him, and they'd ask him questions, and he'd say no English, and they'd move to the next guy. And then if I walked through the locker room late, he would go, Coach, when are they going to stop coming and asking me all these questions after the game? Don't they understand I don't speak English? Sabonis was like two gentlemen that are here tonight, and again, I say this respectfully, but the people, and so many of you are here today that have followed the Blazers for the two gentlemen sitting over there, Harry and Bucky, made more good decisions in a year that has been made in the history of this franchise. But way back when, Terry Porter and Jerome Kersey are standing in the back of the room. And I was a second-year guy in the NBA after having coached in college for a long time. And to be able to coach gentlemen like Jerome and Terry and Sabonis. Sabonis was an old-time Blazer. He was a pro who came to practice, who played when he was hurt, who did everything you ever asked of him, and was just a wonderful, wonderful guy. And I always wondered if it at times was frustrating to him because we had a couple of good years, and of course they got to the finals, the Western Conference Finals twice. But at times it had to bother him a little bit because in his prime and when he was healthy, what he would have led and helped the other players, where he would have helped them get to, there was no limit to how high, how many things they would have achieved, and how many times they would have done that. So for him to come in, and believe me, Brian Grant talked about it this afternoon, how much time he spent in the training room. He spent as much time in the training room as he spent anywhere else when he was in Portland. And I'll jump your next question, Wheels, because you gave me a heads up. Why is Sabas so popular with people here in Portland this many years later? And when he came to us so late in his career, because everybody in Portland identified with him. He was a pro, he was a blue collar guy. He came in, he just asked, what am I supposed to do? And he went and did it night in and night out against, some of the other young, great centers in this league. Never made an excuse, never said he was hurt, never said he couldn't go. If you're a coach, you want to coach people like Arvydas Sabonis and Terry Porter and Jerome Kersey.
Well, I know you're tired of answering questions. I'll just ask you one more, so everybody is fully up to date with what are you doing today back home?
I have a basketball school. We have around 600 kids, and I'm working there. And around basketball, with Žalgiris, with my team, around basketball, always. Now we have, this year we have in my country European Championship. I'm elected like ambassador of this Eurobasket 2011. I travel in 12 countries, to represent this event, around basketball.
You have your daughter here. Now she says she doesn't play, but your boys back home, do they all play?
My second and third one, they play basketball. My 19-year-old this year win World Championship with U19. Last year win this European Championship U18. I don't know. I happy with my kids like basketball, it just is a little bit confused. He practicing, both practicing in Spain, Spanish coaches teaching, to play basketball. In my school, it's coming like just visitors.
Eddie, you guys have any last words about Sabas? Did we cover everything?
I'll make this comment, Brian. It was Stu Inman, our director of player personnel, who brought Bucky into the Blazer organization. And it wasn't long thereafter when he made a comment that rapidly made its way around our offices. When Bucky talks, I listen. So when Bucky said we could get the best player in the NBA, trust me, we listened.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Harry Glickman, Bucky Baldwin, Jim Paxson, DJ Carlissimo, and of course Arvydas Sabonis. We hope that, we know Lithuania is home, but we hope you all know that Portland is home to you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything what you did for me. And I wish all the best for all of you and good luck for the Blazers.
Arvydas Sabonis, MB.
We're doing a prize giveaway.